is Monday Motivation Night. I got the lovely Cool Ranch with me here tonight to kind of help me through this process and everything. So that way, if I need her to take over, she can take over for me or whatever might be. So I wanted her to come on and be able to share what she's gone through and so forth. And so we'll cover a little bit of everything. I wanted to introduce myself. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome in. I'm so glad to have you here. I hope you will come in and say hello. Let us know that you're here as well so we can say hello to you. I've been a reseller for 6 years now, and I absolutely love it. It's the one thing that I love to do more than anything. So I sell on Poshmark, Macari, Galaxy, YouTube, you name it. I'm pretty much on every platform. That mean I use them all, but I absolutely love it. And so I'm going to have Cool Ranch introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Well, I was just thinking I've been a reseller for 6 weeks. So somewhere about
seller.
Somewhere about, yeah, I've always been in sales for sure. Sales is kind of my jam. But this is a new journey for me. And Scooter's been just instrumental in helping me, along with a lot of you that are resellers and people like Picky Nikki and
Aqua Girl
for sure. Callie reseller, Luis. I'm trying to think of all. I just can't thank you enough. It's like this is so much fun.
Yes.
This is so much fun. Yeah.
And it's nice when people are willing to help you and everything. And
and everybody is so willing. Everybody. Right. I haven't had a go pound sand note from anybody. Everybody is just like eager and willing to help you out. So yeah. And cheering on your successes for sure.
Right. So. Yes. So we got Lori Goodman here. Hey, Lori, welcome in. She says, I am here. I need some motivation right now. And then we got Monster Zero in the house. Hey, Monster, welcome in. And we got Leslie McNair here. Welcome in, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
So we got 7 people in chat right now. Make sure you do all the YouTube things like subscribing to both myself and Cool Ranch. Cool Ranch is going to create a different channel. So
yeah,
as soon as that gets done, we'll put that one in instead. Cool Ranch's info is down below as well. Make sure you ring the bell on both to be notified every time we go live or drop new content.
Yep.
Leave a comment after the show. Tell me what you thought of tonight's topic and what else you would like to see. And most importantly, make sure you hit the thumbs up. So, let's see. And of course, most of y'all know I keep my notes right in front of me on my iPad. And so I'm checking off as I go so I know I covered everything. I don't know where that thing's coming from.
You need a little water?
Something. I got my glass here. So, yeah. I will be sharing a video at some point tonight's live to celebrate my dad's birthday. Today is his first birthday in heaven. And it's actually a video I made when he passed away. So make sure you stay and check that out.
Also, I sure will.
Yes. Well, you need to. You have to. I mean, you don't have a choice. Positive spot thought. Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day. Unseen, unheard, but always near. Still loved, still missed, and very dear. So
yeah, I love that.
Isn't it? Yeah, I love that. Just gave me chills.
yeah. I love that. I asked you earlier, get the tissue box.
I know.
What was, can you explain to me, something that I didn't know, what was your dad's, was this your biological father? Because I thought you had a stepdad too.
Yeah, this was my biological father. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the first man that I fell in love with when I was born.
Right? Don't all girls?
Right.
Yeah.
So I know my daddy and my mom would not want me to be sitting here, not pushing or going and surviving. As most of you know, I lost both my parents in March. My dad passed away unexpectedly on March 4th, and he had basically caught himself on fire back in the end of February, is what had happened. But his heart wasn't strong enough to stand up to the surgery and stuff. So we were going to move him back, put him in hospice with my sister in law at her house, and just, allow him to live as long as he could. But the day that he was supposed to move to Susan's, my sister in law, he was not doing good and wasn't going to make the transport. So we had to go to Memphis, which is 2 hours away from us. And he passed away not too long after we got there. So
Wow.
My mom, she passed away on March 23rd. So same month, about 2 weeks later. But hers was due to battle with Alzheimer's. And both of those was this year. So only 3 months ago. But,
Wow.
Her battle with Alzheimer's, I was able to prepare for her death and everything. Whereas my dad was totally different. So,
Yeah.
So obviously this has affected my world, personal and business. So tonight's Monday Motivation is going to be a little different. As I mentioned that in my intro of the video, I put the good and the bad. So I'm sharing my loss in Cool Ranch. Robert just brought me tissue, Cool Ranch.
Thank you, Robert. What a good husband.
So as I mentioned that, Monday motivation will sometimes be good and bad. So, but it's always going to be motivating and positive as well. So, I'm sharing my loss, and Cool Ranch has pointers from her loss as well that she's going to be sharing with us. And she graciously agreed to come on with me, so I'm not alone. So, thank you, Cool Ranch.
I'm happy to be here, and I share some of these thoughts that I'll share today. I share them with anybody who wants to know. A stranger on the street, really,
Right, yes.
Some people just need a little, like, I can survive this, right? This isn't the end of the world. It's just a new beginning.
Yes.
You kind of have to, not push on. You don't want to leave it like unsaid or undone. You don't want to have something dangling out there. You want to move through it, but carefully, because grief is a real thing. It's everybody has, or everybody is going to, or has gone through grief, right?
Right.
But if I'm sitting here in this chair talking about it, and you're sitting in that chair talking about it, we got through it.
Right.
And we're getting through it.
And we will help the next, to get
Absolutely.
through it as well. So.
Absolutely. Well,
So
one of the.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Most importantly is that today is my dad's first birthday in heaven.
Yes.
He would have been 78 today, so happy birthday, Daddy. I wanted to do this tonight to have the people in the reseller community and the auction community to help me celebrate his life and to get through the rest of the day. So I have that video I want to share with y'all a little later. Cool Ranch, you have suffered losses as well. Would you like to share who and when or anything of that?
Certainly. Well, for those of you who don't know, I am 51. So I think I'm quite a bit older than Scooter.
Right? Honestly, you're about 4 years older than me.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I started, I should say, suffering loss when I was 14 and a half. My dad was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and this was in 1984. So you can imagine the technology was not there. In fact, the hospital didn't even have an MRI. They had a traveling MRI because we lived at that time, this was a rural community. It was all farmland. And when you told people that you lived in Brighton, Colorado, they thought you were living in farm country. So, I mean, they didn't know that we actually had a hospital or doctors or whatever. But anyway, so it took about 2 months for them to diagnose my dad's brain cancer. And by the time that they diagnosed it, it was more than half the side of his brain. And at that time, they had no idea how to treat. One of the oncologists said that my dad was 1 in a million because they had never seen this kind of tumor. Now, today, if he had gotten that tumor, it would have been removed and he would be cured. But God doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
So after his diagnosis, he lived for about 18 months, and I cried watching him go through he said that he would do anything, try anything, as long as it didn't impede his ability to deal with or speak or see his kids. That was his only requirement. So they put him through hell. I'm sorry. They put him through hell. And I saw it, every bit of it. But I was a teenager. My sister was younger than me. My brother's just a little bit older than me. We all dealt with this differently. But anyway, when he passed away, I didn't cry because I knew where he was going, and I knew that he had no more pain. No more pain. And one of my not so nice girlfriends, neighbors, whatever, she came to the funeral and I didn't cry. I just didn't. I was, for lack of a better word, I was happy that he wasn't in pain anymore, and that God had lifted him and taken everything away. So he died in 1986 when I was just a month before my 16th birthday. And so this month, July, he died on July 1st. Of course, the 4th of July weekend was happening at that time. And so they couldn't bury him for 5 days until the cemetery opened up again after the holiday. I helped my mom pick out his casket. I helped her organize the funeral. And then it was, back to school. And, because I took off a couple weeks from school. I was a straight A student, so I didn't want to miss school. I went back on, school happens, prom happens, you're a teenager, you go through, all this stuff, and then you get through graduation, and then you get your first job, and then you go on to college. And so when I was 19, I was lost. I was lost. I was beside myself. I didn't know who I was. Everything was sad. I was sad all the time, which never happens to me. My dad gave me my sense of humor for sure. But anyway, so when I was 19, I finally sought counseling. And the counselor said, look, Amy, what you're dealing with is very similar to a lot of kids who lose their parents in grade school or high school, or when there's so much outside that's keeping you kind of put together. But when you don't have that put together, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to be at this class, I got to be at that class. As soon as all that slows down and your life kind of takes a new direction, it's called delayed grieving. Mm-hmm. And so I had to work through that. It didn't take me very long. But I was so glad that there wasn't anything wrong with me. She didn't offer me any medications like they do now. She just offered me a book that would help me get through, when I had a bad day. So, so my dad died in 1986, and then right after that, my grandpa, he was the only grandfather I ever knew. He passed away, and then my dad's mom, my grandma on the other side, we called her Grandma Nana. She passed away, and so I got quite a list for you. So that was all before I was 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. But you just can't stop, right? So one of the things that I wanted to share was the loss of a parent is huge. Right?
Amen.
Scooter can totally agree. I'm sure everybody in the chat can agree. But sometimes after everything, after the memorial service or the whatever service you're having to memorialize that person, then everything calms down, and sometimes you feel lost.
Oh, yes.
Which is what I found out is very normal. And so what you might be feeling is lost after, and I would say this is not just a parent, but pretty much anybody who's really close to you.
Yes.
When things are supposed to be normal again, sometimes they're not, and you feel lost. And so it says, one of the things I printed out was, you can feel lost after the death of a mother or father. You may even find yourself feeling like a child again, even if you're an adult with your own life and responsibilities. But then it goes on to the fact that you've lost unconditional love. Mom and dad, that's totally unconditional, right?
Yes.
You could do just about anything. My mom used to say you could do anything, even murder, and I would still love you.
Right.
So, sorry. So losing a parent may mean losing someone who thought you were the most special and who loved you unconditionally. So those of you who've had those relationships with your parents, would you chime in if you've lost a parent? That way I can take a break.
And like you said, though, what gave me the chills on that is talking about how you go back to feeling like a child. And I think the major point for me was I've lost both my parents so close together. And now I know I made a comment. I can't remember who I made the comment to, but I'm like, I have no father, no mom, because my relationship with my stepdad is all screwed up and everything. So I feel like I have nobody. And then my brother was recently diagnosed with cancer. And
yeah, right. Yeah.
And he's 8 years older than me, but as far as immediate family unit, if I lose him, I'm the only one left of my mom and dad and my brother, and so that's very terrifying to me.
Yeah.
Leslie McNair says she lost both of her parents. I think Monster said up at the top or before that he had lost both of his parents too.
Yeah. And you know what? Age doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference.
No, and I feel like with me, losing both my parents so close together, it was just like the wind just got knocked out of me. I was just getting up from my dad, and then all of a sudden, got knocked back down with my mom because I did not imagine that she would be going at the same time.
Yeah.
And then the next day after the day that my mom passed, I think it was, Robert and I were going to leave to go out there, and there was a dove in our garage. And I don't know how many of y'all kind of relate to signs of things, but there was a dove in our garage, and so we let that one out. And then we didn't know if there was a second dove in our garage. And I told Robert, I said, you can't tell me that was not a sign that both my mom and dad were there to tell me that they were together. You know?
They were okay. Yeah.
Yep. So I even found an expensive, I don't know what it's made of, but anyways, it's two doves in the shape of a heart, and it's got the heads touching.
Yeah.
And I found that right after I had that first sign. And so I was like, I have to buy this. And it was like $40, but it's like, I just got to have it.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah. Well, the one thing I know, and I hope everybody can hear this, there are no coincidences. Just put that right out of your mind. There are no coincidences. And I'm sorry, I'm very, very faithful in my Christian walk with Christ. And I want all of you to know that none of this happens just because.
mm-hmm.
It happens because there's a reason. There's a reason for everything that happens in your life. I grew to know that losing my father and my grandfather and my grandmother, all in the period of 3 years, made me who I am today.
Yeah.
A more responsible, outgoing, if the things that they gave me by being their child and their grandchild, I use every day.
Mm-hmm. So,
with my grandma, Nana, it was sewing. And I have 3 sewing machines in my craft room downstairs. Mike's like, what are all these damn sewing machines here for? But I'm like, well, you bought most of them. But anyway, so that was because of my grandma Nana. And my grandpa wouldn't let me drive my car. He wouldn't work on my car. He was a mechanic. He wouldn't work on my car until I knew how to change a tire, change my own oil, and change the starter in my engine.
Oh my gosh.
And I learned that. He wouldn't let me. He replaced, because he had to replace the clutch, and that was something that he didn't, he knew that a mechanic should do. But he knew that those 3 things I could do, and he taught me how to do them. And he told me, you don't drive a car unless you know these things. I'm like, okay. So, but Grandpa, he was a wise old guy. He was also the biggest Bronco fan you've ever met in your life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he's the one that started the season ticket thing with, anyway.
Bonnie Boo said that she lost her son in 1986, her husband in 2016, mom in 2017, her dad and father-in-law in 2019, 10 days apart.
Wow.
And
Bonnie, I'm so sorry. That's.
And then she also said, exactly, Cool Ranch, God carries me each and every day, some days tighter than others. Amen.
Yeah. Amen. Boy, that's for sure.
Lori said her grandpa was the same way. So, what do you do when you have a loss of a loved one and running a business? I personally took a break, but I also have a full-time job, so I could afford to take a break. If a reselling business is solely your income, still take a small break. Then maybe work in some buy it now videos here and there until you feel ready to go live again if you're a live reseller. If you sell on other platforms like Poshmark and Mercari, then that might be the best way to go for a month to still get some sort of income coming in. You just don't feel like showing your face to anybody. So for myself, I took a month off, I believe. I remember my dad passed away March 4th, and I think it was April 4th when I finally walked into my office. So a whole month later, I didn't come in my office because I didn't want to. I didn't feel like it. And then, of course, losing my mom the same month, that just added, more time that I took off. So, Cool Ranch, what is your thoughts on that? About taking a break from everything?
Well, I think that you definitely need to. because I mean, I don't know about any of you when you've lost somebody that close. It's like everything triggers tears.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one other thing that I wrote down today is that, I told you that I didn't cry at my dad's funeral. Well, the one girl, she went around school telling everybody, well, she didn't even love her dad because she didn't cry at his funeral. Well, yeah, that girl got beat up by my little sister, like really beat up.
Oh my gosh.
So, and my sister and I have never been close at all. And my sister took that to the anyway. So, so
Right.
she was a little bloody when the beating got done. And but what I guess I'm trying to say is that when I did realize that tears are okay, that I could cry, I could be angry, I could be sad, and that usually happens in the days following the loss of a loved one. Period. So taking that time off is crucial,
Yeah.
and whether it's 5 days or 10 days or a whole month, whatever you need, you have to listen to what's here in your heart. You have to listen to what your heart is telling you. If you can't get back on lives, Scooter, if you can't do it, don't do it,
Right.
because you're not going to be effective. You're not going to have the same sales. You're just not going to be present
Yes.
in what you're doing. So, but the one thing that I do want to say to all of you is that don't ever let somebody tell you not to cry. Don't cry. Sometimes you get teared up and you or just bawling, just straight out bawling. And somebody tells you, oh, please don't cry. Well, you know what I tell them? Go to hell. Sorry. But I'm going to cry as much as I want to cry. Crying is good for the soul.
Yes.
That's how I feel about it. And I don't let anybody tell me not to cry. Even today, I mean, I just got out of breast cancer recovery. All the crap that I went through and all the steroids I had to take and all the chemotherapy and the radiation and everything that I had to go through, including having to cut my hair short again. I cried a lot. And I didn't let anybody tell me. In fact, I was kind of mean sometimes when somebody would tell me not to cry. So crying's good. When you lose somebody, cry. But as far as your business, take the time that you need. And my feeling is that God will provide in the end.
Yes.
So when you are ready to get going, like I was with Scooter last Wednesday, I was ready to go. I was ready to take my reselling business to a different level.
Yep.
So anyway, I'll let you go.
We got Darlene Priest in the house. Want to make sure I say hello to her.
Oh, hi, Darlene.
And then we have my baby girl Harley here.
Hi, Harley.
Let's see. Kind of cover some of the chat. Monster said, amen. I have no family except my wife and our dog, but being a saved, born again believer in Jesus Christ, I have many brothers and sisters.
That's absolutely right. You got it.
Bonnie said you have to do that, but prepare for sucker punches when it all rushes in, but then combat that and let happy memories flood in. Yes.
Yes.
There's been several days I come home just in tears, and my husband's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just having a hard day today. Today was a hard day,
Yep.
Darlene, I'm so very sorry. She just lost her father May 6th, buried both my parents the 11th. She was told at her job that if she didn't go in when she did, that she would not have a job anymore. Oh my gosh!
Who are you working for? monster.
That
Seriously?
is a heartless statement. I mean, for my
Yeah.
husband, it would be no big deal. He's the type that goes right back to work and everything. And I joke with him, kid with him, that if I die before him, which is what he wants to happen, so I don't have to feel the pain of losing him.
Yeah.
But if I die, I tell him, like, you're going to be back at work the next day, because he just got to be busy,
Yeah, he's got to keep himself busy.
Right.
I'll guarantee you he won't be back at work. Tough guys, right?
Right. Yes.
We've got a couple of tough guys. But yeah, I don't think either one of them would be back at work the next
Right.
day. Or the next week, for that matter.
Right. Darlene said that HR told her to take as long as she needed, but not the manager. Then I would be listening to HR.
Oh, yeah,
if the
for
manager
sure.
let you go, I'd be suing that job.
Yeah.
Julie McIntyre's in the house. Hey, Julie, welcome in.
Hey, Julie. Hi.
So they call the first 12 months after a loss as the year of transition. Beware that this is also the time that long-term decisions are to be put off, because that is when long-term decisions are regularly made for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And the mourner and their money is the most vulnerable during that time as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
As y'all know, I've worked in the financial industry 18 years with my stepdad and 7 years with my new guy. And we always told our clients, we're not going to make any decisions until 6 months later, because, right now is not the time that we have to take care. We'll take care of your financial needs immediately, but as far as major changes or anything like that, we wouldn't deal with it till 6 months later.
Yeah. And I had a friend, I can't remember. It was recently, who, can't remember who it was, darn it, who said that, she'd just lost her mother, and her mother was living with them, and passed away in their house. And she said, well, I just have to move. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I don't know if that's such a good idea, especially the housing market. And, I'm trying to coach her and get her out of that. Don't just stay put. Just let it roll for just a little while and make those decisions later on. So that's a very good point.
Yeah. Darlene Priest says she had a cry day for no reason today. I'm totally with you. Of course, yesterday for Father's Day, I slept half the day away until Harley got here. And then today, I've slept most of the day. Like, I didn't get up until 2 o'clock or so. So, grief, as I found out with parents, causes confusion, and it can influence your financial decision making ability as well as business decision. So your brain is actually functioning differently, and it's normal to feel confused and have some memory loss during this time as well. Let's see. Right, Lori? Lori says she hopes her year is over soon. I'm with you on that. Harley and I were just saying that yesterday. We've had so much going on between my parents dying, my brother getting cancer, and Robert, my husband's sister. This is her second battle of cancer, and she's going downhill now. And it's just.
And that's Robert's sister, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so Robert's parents passed away 7 months apart back in 2006 and 2007. His sister got cancer. Now my parents have passed away, and my brother has cancer. And I'm like, God could not have picked a better person for me to be with right now. So
that's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you, Darlene. And of course, Harley said she cried over a wooden box that said Hawaii yesterday. It's okay to cry. I was like, dang it, Harley, stop. We went to estate sales. She goes with me, and we found that box, and I went to Hawaii with my dad back in 1998, 99.
Oh.
And I'm so glad we did.
Well, I want to address something real quick. Rev said, death is never fully real until someone or someone you are close to dies. Yeah. And yeah, it gets very, very real for sure.
So during this time, I've also found out that grief can cause exhaustion. It can affect sleep and leave people
Yeah.
feeling tired. This has been the biggest thing I've dealt with more than anything. I'm guessing subconsciously I grieve and as well as consciously, but again, for example, today is my dad's birthday and I slept half the day away, just like yours stayed for Father's Day.
Oh,
Just so I don't have to feel. I don't want to feel. I don't want to remember. I haven't wanted to celebrate or anything, So, Cool Ranch, what's your thoughts on that?
well, I can totally relate because 35 years. I think this July 1st will be 35 years. Um, my dad wasn't here to watch me graduate high school. He wasn't here to walk me down the aisle. You know, father-daughter dances when I was in high school. I didn't go, and bury your head in the sand. And I did that for a lot of years. But now I have other people in my life that support me, and you've just got to have that support system for
Yeah,
sure. Like you said
definitely.
with Robert, with my husband Mike, Mr. Cool, I wouldn't have anybody else. I There's just no way that I could have gone through the more recent other deaths that I've experienced with family members in my life. I couldn't do it without him.
Yeah.
Right? You need a support system.
Hey, Joyce. Joyce is in the house.
Actually,
Reb Artist is trying to make me cry. He said, "It's okay, Little Red. He sees you, sweetie."
yeah, he does. Yeah, he does
I
for
will have to
sure.
say, I had a dream not too long after my mom passed of her showing up in my dream. And she looked just like herself back when she was a single mom to me. And she was laying on my bed that I have now. And we were talking, and I had asked her if my grandfather on my dad's side ever really walked beforehand because I only knew him in a wheelchair when I came along. But he didn't pass away till he was 93. So,
Wow. Oh, that's a good
that's,
line.
that's the way I saw him. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, he walked." And then all of a sudden in my dream, I just broke down crying. And I was like, "Mom, I miss you so much and I love you so much," because she was her old self before Alzheimer's set in.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, my therapist told me that, she believes there are signs out there that our, loved ones will come to us in our dreams. But I haven't had one of my dad yet. And that is just
Yeah.
killing me,
Well, the one thing that I do have from losing my dad is the dream that I've had it for, I'm 51 years old, and every once in a while, he'll just kind of be there in my dreams, and um, like you said, it was him in his police uniform coming home because he used to come home during his well, we used to call the police department. We had a small town. So we used to call the police department, and the dispatcher would say, "Hey, Dennis, your family is eating dinner. You better get home." So he would get his dinner break and he would come home. Mom would have dinner on the table. And the first thing that he would do is pick me up. And he always called me Pumpkin. And he said, "Hey, Pumpkin, how's your day?" And that's how the conversation would start. And that's how the dream starts every time. And nothing
No,
after that. And there's nothing after that. It's just him in his police uniform, probably about, 30 years old, and me, at maybe 6 or 7.
mhm.
And that's the way but it's been the same dream for this entire 34 or 35 years. Same dream.
Wow. Rev said she looked 25, right? I would say anywhere from 30 to 35 is what she looked like, just like Cool said about her dad, in that 30-year range. So I
Yeah.
just hope I look that good when I'm when I go. Um, Debbie said, I'm sorry for everyone's lost. I lost my only daughter and I've never been the same. But as time goes by, you learn how to cope. The best thing is give yourself time and know it's okay. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Darlene says she had a dream about her father not even a full week after he passed. Bonnie said, hugs all. I need to go. Been having a temporal arthritis flare. Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Thank you for coming in and supporting us. Remember, God will carry you through the difficult times. Amen.
yeah, Bonnie Boo, for sure.
And we got Jules in the house. Hey, Jules.
Hi, Jules.
So there are 6 ways to cope with grief for yourself and in your business. Everyone, please stick around. Remember, I want to show that video I made, and we're almost there. So, number 1, surround yourself with people who care, both physically and even your friends on the web. So many of you have shown how much you care by reaching out to me. I've never met you in person, you know.
Yeah.
But you've all reached out to me. You all had a part of me getting through all these last 3 months, and I'm sure continue forward as well. Number 2 is take good care of yourself. I'm in therapy. Granted, it didn't start with the death of my parents. It had to do with a narcissistic step-parent. I was diagnosed with PTSD before my parents passed away, so I was already dealing with that. But my therapist reminds me to take care of myself. If I feel I need to sleep, then sleep. But it's important for me to do things for me, like getting my nails done or my hair done.
Yep.
And my husband, Robert, has reminded me of this. He lets me grieve how I need, and as long as it's healthy.
Yep.
You know, the day after my father passed away, I didn't want to eat. I just didn't care. Food had no importance to me. And then finally that evening, he's like, either you're going to eat or I'm going to take you to the doctor.
You better eat.
Right. Jules says, Amy, you look so pretty.
Oh, she's so sweet.
So, cool, Rick, what are your thoughts on those 2 points?
Well, the take good care of yourself is absolutely crucial, for sure. There's just, some of the things that came to my mind when you said that about taking care of yourself is, there was another loss that I experienced in the last 5 years. And I just didn't want to take a shower. Mm-hmm. I just didn't want to get out of my pajamas. I just loafed around like it was the end of the world. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be better again. And then, one day I just said, I can't do this. And so one of the things that I started doing was planning ahead a special day, or like you and Robert, or me and Mike, a special day. Just for us, it would be driving to the mountains in Colorado. It would be driving up to Estes Park through Rocky Mountain National Forest, and that's a day trip. But planning ahead and having something to look forward to is crucial. Mm-hmm. So if you're going through hard times, and I don't know, if any of you out there besides Scooter are going through those times right now, but plan ahead, have something to look forward to, because then your focus goes to there. Mm-hmm. And not to all of the grief. And I'm not saying don't grieve. I'm just saying plan ahead, have something fun in your life that you have to look forward to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Harley said, I need to prepare to cry. You said video. Yep. Harley is my girl that she will cry. She doesn't care who's around or anything. So
I'm sorry, Harley.
Jules said, I'm not sure who passed for each of you, which for me was my dad and my mom most recently in March. But she lost her partner to COVID after she gave it to her. And then kind of find out she had been frauding me. Oh my gosh. While almost dying two times from COVID. Oh my goodness, Jules. I am so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I
Wow.
can't imagine. Um, Rev,
No. Yeah. That'd be rough.
right.
Really, really rough. Oh my gosh.
Okay, Rev, give me just a moment. Let me work through some of this a little bit more, and I'll send it to you here in just a second, Rev. Number 3, let others help you. My husband is a godsend on this one.
Yeah.
From after the deaths to help me with my shows and help me run my business. That's why he got involved. I just feel like I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah.
And especially my daughters. You know, Harley was over here the very next day after my dad passed. And, okay, this is where the tears might start.
Get those tissues.
When my girls were little, anytime they had a bad day, regardless if it was they brought it on themselves or somebody else did it for them, we would always get ice cream. And one of the most recent ones, Harley was going to drop out of hair school, and so we went to Cool Ranch. We went to Chick-fil-A and got ice cream so we could talk about what was the right decision for her. And so the next day after my dad died, Harley came over and she had an ice cream coming for me, and we just stood in the living room just bawling our eyes out and then ate the ice cream, you know. So my boss as well, it just takes the pressure off of you when you let others help you.
Yes. Yeah.
Number 4, postpone major decisions whenever possible. As I mentioned earlier, this is when we're the most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Cool Ranch, your thought on those 2 points?
Yeah, I think we discussed a little bit about that, of not making big decisions. Don't go out and buy a new car. Don't, I mean, I don't know, just, you know, the one thing, one of the books I read some time ago, I wish I had the full quote, but when everything is in chaos, just be still.
Yes.
Be still. Let whatever else is going on around you, you just need to be still and wait for the opportunities that are going to come to you. Don't rush into anything crazy. You know,
yes.
A business, you know, don't go out and buy the local food chain, you know, thing, or sell your house or move somewhere else or move out of state or buy a new car. Don't do anything. Just wait it out and get through the grieving process, because there is a process.
Yes.
Everybody's different, right?
Yes, everybody grieves in a different way and handles it differently. My husband, we both went through the same thing with our moms, because his mom had lymphoma cancer for 2 years before she passed. And, you know, we watched her go downhill. And when the time came for her to pass, we were thankful because she was no longer going to be in pain and everything.
Yeah.
And then watching my mom with Alzheimer's, you know, they call it a lone goodbye for a reason. And it's definitely, you know, we fought it for 2 years.
Terrible thing.
So we both were prepared to deal with that. But when our fathers passed, Robert, he cried at the funeral. But then he's the type where he just wants to be busy. He wants to get back to work the next day, wants to, you know, keep his mind occupied so he's not having to think about what he doesn't want to think about.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing.
Yes. And like for me, it's like I need to keep busy myself as well. But at the same time, I've grieved so much. Like I just cry over my dad on a whim, you know. I don't cry so much on my mom because, again, that was so expected that she was going to pass. But for my dad, I definitely can cry on a dime. So Jules said, Amy, all I had to look forward to was bills that was left from my partner. I was all alone.
Oh, my Lanta, that's awful.
Darlene said, I don't have another half. I moved back home from New York at the end of January 20. My mom passed that September 8th. Oh, that's my husband's anniversary day. Then
Oh,
my
wow.
father went fast in the past 2 months, and he passed May 6th, buried both June 11th. That is so hard to do because Robert's parents were 7 months apart. So, and they were
Their deaths were 7 months apart.
Robert's parents were, yes.
You know, because Mike's mom and dad were very similar. And that after you spend like Mike's mom and dad, they were married. I made their 65th wedding anniversary cake. They were two peas in a pod. And when dad passed away, it wasn't long and mom passed away. And there is some people say, and I agree, that, when one spouse dies, the other spouse dies because they had their heart broken.
Yes, that's like Robert.
Yeah, I totally think that's right. They die from a broken heart.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's just true because if you think of the school shooting down in Texas where the teacher passed away, and then the husband went to the memorial where her memorial was, and came back home and was just sitting there, and he passed away due to a heart attack with his family around and stuff, and that was just like a day or two after that.
Wow. No, I hadn't heard that. Yeah. It is a real thing. I think.
But Robert's dad had pulmonary fibrosis, and he had got diagnosed with that when Robert and I were just dating, and that was in 2000. He got diagnosed with it. So we feel like his dad stayed alive long enough to take care of Robert's mom during the cancer.
Yeah.
And then passed away 7 months later. So.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the thing that I told you in the beginning. There are no coincidences. God has his hand on everything that happens. Everything. And there is a reason. Yes. And it usually is for good, as far as I can tell. So far, I'm still here.
Right.
Even after the loss of several of my relatives and loved ones. But yeah, the one thing I was going to tell you about that I read was about grieving, was that sudden outbursts of tears are common, triggered by memories or reminders of your loved one. Even those who are not confident their loved one is with the Lord still struggle with sadness over their loss. So it doesn't matter what religion you are. Everybody struggles with loss.
Mm-hmm.
Not all people grieve the same way, like we talked about. And that's okay. As long as you're not hurting somebody.
Right. Or
you're not robbing a bank to pay those bills.
Like Robert got a little upset with me because I was just like, Sunday and Monday, I just want to do nothing but drink old fashions all day long, just so I'm numb, just so I don't have to feel anything.
Yeah.
And that's how people become alcoholics, because that's, their thing is to just numb the pain, or even drug addicts,
Yeah.
There's a couple of you that are making me feel a lot better in chat. Darlene says she still hasn't had a cry for her mom yet. And then Carol Kimball, and welcome in, Carol. She says she cries for her dad every day, but my mom, she hasn't cried at all. And I have found myself doing that because my mom, I knew was going to pass, and my dad was so unexpected. So there's times I get very false and very worried that I'm not grieving my mom's death the way I should. So that makes me feel good that there's a couple of you that have done the same thing. So I'm not alone in that feeling. Jules says, long goodbye. Yes, so true. I cared for my aunt for years with Alzheimer's, and she got valid, but still hard when she passed. Yes.
Yeah. I want to address Debbie's comment.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just about to show that. Go ahead.
Yeah, about losing her best friend. Julie, I lost my best friend, but she didn't die. She chose not to be a part of my cancer struggle.
Mm.
She stopped calling after my lumpectomy. She stopped calling. She stopped uh, commenting on my Facebook posts, which I didn't post very much during my cancer battle. But she came to the hospital after my surgery. She gave me a very nice blanket and a very nice card, and I've never seen her again. And this was, when I say best friends, since kindergarten. At that point, it was 40 years.
I wonder if she just had a hard time of dealing with you having cancer.
Well, and I know that's the case. My dad had friends that did the same thing when he was going through it. And I understand, but I'm okay now. How about sending me a text message, or are you still alive?
Right.
You know, I'm sorry, but I just had to write her off.
Yeah.
But the thing is that God brings other people into your life. You will have a new best friend.
Mm-hmm.
One that will stand by you no matter what, and not judgmental, and not putting their guilt trips on you.
Yes.
Which is what I realized my ex best friend was doing to me. So, but I can't imagine. I still, obviously, if something happened to her, I would be there in a heartbeat.
Right. Right.
You know, I'm just not that way. But and I would never put, my anger or disappointment. I would never put that in front of her face.
Right.
But yeah, but I would never leave a friend that way either. So look at all the new look at all the new friends I have now that I jumped into the reselling business. I love you, Scooter. You're just the best.
I love you.
And there are so many people in the chat that I just
Right.
Yeah.
I've been blessed to have two friends for 30 plus years, 40 years now that I grew up with. And one of them disappointed me. I thought she would be here because she only lives like 3 or 4 hours away.
Yeah.
And my friend that lives 9 hours away just came down, and she says she wanted to be there for me when when things calm down, because that's when people seem to kind of, not stay as much in touch with you as, when you're going through the grief. So that meant the world to me for her to come down and just stay up all night and talk. We had a hotel room, and we had our drinks and everything. And, it was just so nice to feel somewhat normal. So, real quick, I'm going to do the last, number 5 and number 6. And then I got a special guest I won't bring on with us just for a quick second.
Okay.
Number 5, consider grief counseling. As I mentioned, I was already in therapy dealing with PTSD. So we're still working on that part, but we've added grief counseling as well. I cannot stress the importance of this.
Yeah.
It's a way to get your feelings out. And most of all, for me, she has helped with my thoughts on how I should be grieving, because I've had not the best thoughts on that part. And I mean, I'm always second guessing myself. I overanalyze way too much throughout life and so forth. And so she's there to tell me that there's no certain way to grieve. There's not a handbook out there that tells you this is how long you should grieve or anything like that. So that's where she's helped me the most. And also how to give myself, with everything going on, to give myself grace while all this is going on as well. Number 6, take charge of your new life. As I said before, give yourself the time you need to grieve. There's no time limit, which I have struggled with. There's no right or wrong way to do this, which I've also struggled with. But I jumped back into my business, and I've been taking charge of my new normal,
Yeah.
my new life without my parents. So
Yeah.
I know how much my daddy was so proud of me with my reselling and my flea market booth. He would always ask, "How's it going?" And so it was important to me to carry that on because I know I'm continuing to making him proud of me.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to bring in our guest. Looky here. We got Rev here. Our guest.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, good.
Can you mute your TV?
There.
Okay, now.
Perfect.
Now, the first thing, I don't look like in my picture no more.
You got quite a beard going on there.
And I actually had it trimmed, so it's like 3 inches shorter. And
Oh my gosh.
I got my hair cut because I was looking, and I was at the Aldi the other day, and some man was offering to buy my basket. And my kids said, it's because he thought you were a homeless man. Okay. But, you know, death has followed me since before I was born. And I meant to share this yesterday, but I just feel so inadequate to share like this. It's a totally different thing. But my father, my name to my father might as well have been not mine, because he never accepted me as his child. And so he beat up my mama a week before I was supposed to be born. He was hoping to have her abort me. And it didn't work because you're looking at me. And my mama, unfortunately, my mama, my name might as well have been not wanted, because she already had 4 children. I was the last one. And she just really was not ready for yet another child. And it's a hard thing to have to first to become aware of something like that, to get what is it, for each one of them, my father and my mother, to admit and acknowledge that, yes, I tried to do that. That's a hard thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that, what do? If you reject one or reject the other or both or whatever, you're rejecting part of yourself, and you can't do that. And so you can either live a life of tremendous sadness and anger, or you can start to, what I did was I self-medicated a lot. And, recently I'm in chronic pain now. I've been in chronic pain for 6 years. And I finally went to the pain management people, and they keep pushing me to take weed, THC.
Yeah.
And I tell them, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
they told me that too.
And they go on, it's so helpful. And I said, man, I used to sell weed before I was even a teenager. I said, and I did so many things throughout, being a preteen, a teen, and all that I never saw or never thought that it would have the ability to do anything but make me feel good, sort of. I never saw any pain relief, but in any event, they still push to try and do that. And right now they're giving me some morphine mix, but I won't take it. But the thing is that my father, 91 years old, and last year, Father's Day, was the first year that I sent him a Father's Day card. I sent him a Father's Day card, and I sent him $100. And it wasn't because, I hate him, I ain't sending him nothing. It just, I had already made peace with him. And I actually, even though he was very abusive verbally, physically, and what have you, and even though um, he was like that, I was praying once and I felt the Lord tell me that I needed to ask him to forgive me. And then I was like, here I am saying, well, what do you mean me? Ask him to forgive me. I didn't do
Right.
nothing. And the Lord said, yeah, you held anger against him.
Yeah.
And you did not know, I didn't know what he was going through, what he had dealt with, didn't deal with. I had already judged him, convicted him, and everything else. And, and I was angry at him and stuff. And so I called him one day, probably 40 years ago. And I said, I'm 60, by the way. I know I looked 18. Anyway.
That's okay. I'm married to a 67-year-old man.
Oh my gosh. He was a cradle robber.
Yes, he was.
Anyway, so I called him and I said, talked to him a little bit and I told him, I said, you know what? I said, I need to ask you to forgive me. And I told him exactly what I just told y'all. And he got real quiet. And he did something I never thought he'd ever do. He says, I need to ask you to forgive me because I realize that I never should have done the things I did to all of you. And he says, I just didn't know. He says, I was addicted to liquor and liquor and women is what he said. And sure enough, he was quite the guy. He would terrorize us. That was back then when if they ripped off your phone line, you had no way of calling anybody.
Yeah.
And so he'd get super drunk, have them drop him off at our house, even though he didn't live there anymore. And the first thing he did was rip off the phone wire. And then he'd go around the house and say how he was going to kill us. And,
Oh my gosh.
and so throughout my whole life, it's always been like that. Death has followed me for years, and I've had congestive heart failure twice. I've had sepsis. First time I had sepsis was in 2019.
Oh my gosh.
With organ failure. My organs were failing and my mind was not happening. I couldn't read, couldn't even formulate a word. And then I was in ICU for a week. And then the second time in May 20, I got sepsis again. And it was kind of up in the air. They said I had sepsis and COVID.
Oh my gosh.
And then the doctor said, well, yeah, we made a mistake. You don't have COVID. And then the government CDC or whatever they were.
Oh yeah.
They called me and they said, Mr. Sanchez, you have COVID. I said, no, the doctor said I didn't. And then he says, I'm looking at a form, whatever diagnostic, whatever says that you do. I said, well, they told me they made a mistake. He says, they don't know what they're talking about. So I don't know who to believe, but
right.
That's why it's medical science, huh?
That's right. That's why. Well, they're just practicing medicine.
Exactly.
Right.
But bottom line is that there's something about forgiveness, and I did it over and over again with my father.
Yeah.
And it's not like I talked to him every day because he was not the kind of man that would want to talk. He'd start talking really craziness, and after all these years, 91 years old, then he says, well, I really need to tell you something. Okay. And I knew where he was going. And sure enough, you're not really my child. You know that, right?
Oh my gosh.
I said, dude, I am, at the time I was 59. I said, dude, I'm 59 years old. Like, that matters anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I said, but you know what? I know the true father. He never found his father.
That's right.
He never found his father. And because he never found his father, he had to project all the nastiness and ugliness on me. And if I had stayed, or if he had stayed with us, he divorced my family when I was 5 years old. He left the country. so we had to do for ourselves. And you know, but I I found my father. I found the true father, the perfect father.
That's
And
right.
he never did. He never did find his father. His father, what he was told, his father died from a heroin overdose
Mm.
and what have you. So I don't know. You know, all I know is that there's something about forgiveness, and I can't tell you that one day I forgave and
Oh
you
no.
know, and the world exploded in my heart or whatever, and like the Grinch, my heart grew really huge. It wasn't like that, you know. But I know I was angry for years for no reason,
Yeah.
and after I forgave and released him and asked God to forgive me, there's something about that. I did that so many times that finally one year I felt like I needed to send him a card, and I sent him a card, sent him 100, and I was saying, God, you sure? I don't think I should send him 100, but
Maybe 50.
but, but I sent him 100, and then he was all of a sudden I was the best child, you know, that he had, and then it degraded. It's like I told my wife, you know, he started sending me these weird letters. And then it got bigger and bigger, you know, 10-page letters and it was the same thing he'd sent me for years, how
Mm.
I was not his son, how I was this, I was that, proof that I wasn't his son. And my kids all wanted to read it because they, you know, I would tell them before what he did.
Yeah.
And now that they're, you know, adults, they wanted to see it and read it. And after a while they said, Dad, don't talk to him no more. He's just being mean. I said, yeah, that's unfortunately that's how he does. And that's why I have not talked to him. That's why I didn't talk to him before. It's not that I didn't want to, but he didn't want to. And
Mm.
he, you know, and and I know that some of you may be dealing with the same thing. Some of you may
Yep.
not even have the opportunity to talk to your father, your mother, or whoever, but you just have to forgive in your heart. You know, just release them in forgiveness. Because when you hold that unforgiveness, that bitterness, that anger, and all that stuff, all it does is like you're taking poison and
Yes.
you're drinking it and you're thinking they're going to die, but the one that slowly dies is you.
It's
You
you.
know
Yeah.
that when I finally felt the release in forgiveness, my blood pressure went down, my sugar
Hmm.
level, and all this stuff, and I started feeling like I was finally alive for then more than I'd ever been in my life. You
Yeah.
know, I wanted to do things instead of just sit there and cry like a stupid. And you know, it's like my mama died probably 12 years ago, and you know, I think about her and I understand why she did what she did. You know, they pulled her out of school when she was in the third grade or something, her
Mm.
mother, and told her that she was too stupid to learn. So
Oh,
she was going to take care of all the babies, and she was going to cook, and she was going to clean, and you know it's like the evil stepmother, except it was her mother, I think.
Wow.
And so and so you know, Mama always had that in her that she wasn't smart, but she really was. You know, and but
Well,
unfortunately,
Rev, have you ever heard? I'm sure you have, but the sins of the father
mhm, yeah,
are brought upon their children,
yeah,
and it continues and continues until someone says no more. So
yeah,
that's what you did.
yeah.
That's what you did by saying, "This is no more." Going to take hold of who you are, what you do, how you function, and your body just said, "All right, we're good. All is good. Everything is positive."
And I'll tell you this, and I'll quit talking because now all of a sudden I'm scared and I don't want to stop talking. Um, I, I, when I had sepsis, I was kind of there, but not really. I was just so spaced out, I didn't know what was going on. And then I fell asleep. It was Christmas Eve. I fell asleep, and and I had a dream again, and I kept having this dream over and over and over. And it was my mother, and my mother was telling me in Spanish, you know, your kidneys, right? But she was saying it in Spanish. I was like, I couldn't remember what that word meant. I was just so out of it. And then the door opens, to my bedroom, and my wife says, "Get dressed. You're going to the hospital." I said, "Okay." And so I went to the hospital with her, and then got in, and for some reason I started trying to walk out, and then they send the nurses and wheelchair and everything, and I guess they could see how I looked, that I was really freaky. But in any event, it turned into quite the ordeal. But it was really strange. But I finally realized why my mama was telling me in the dream. They said that all this stuff started with a severe urinary tract infection.
Mm.
Of all things, a man talking about a UTI. But
Okay,
they
sorry,
said that,
folks. I just got to plug in my phone. It's about to go dead.
Go ahead, Grit.
they're telling me all this. Well, didn't you feel like it hurt when you know? Well, didn't you feel? No, I didn't feel none of that. And they said, yeah, sometimes you have that, and you don't feel none of that. But it started like that. Of course, I don't know if the doctors are all trained to say the same thing, but he said, you waited a little bit longer, you would have been dead.
Wow.
I was like, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I told my kids, I said, y'all were probably picking a new daddy.
Oh.
Y'all were on newdaddy.com. But anyway, it take care of yourself, take care of your health. There's nothing better, nothing more satisfying than to really take care of yourself, to eat right, feel right, and do right. It's there's no drug that I've ever taken, and I've taken a lot of weird stuff. No drug ever made me feel like feeling right does. Like knowing Jesus. April 14, 1978, my life changed forever. I went from a kid who grew up in poverty. My brother would drive me on his bicycle. I sat on the handlebars, and we'd be looking for bottles because there was a place that was down the street from where we lived, and it was called Red's Transmission, Little Red.
Little Red.
And he would give us 10 cents a bottle, even though they were only worth a nickel. But he knew what we were doing, and so we took all the money we'd get. We'd go to the corner store, and the lady would sell us bologna by the slice, and bread by the slice. And so I just lay out all the dimes and whatever on the counter, and I said, well, how much can we get for this? And she said, okay. And 6 bolognas and whatever bread. Like, okay. So then we'd go home, and my sisters would be waiting there, and we'd all split it. And that's how we got along. There was no father to take care of us. I don't know where my mama was, but we took care of ourselves, and that's what we had to do. But I went through poverty, and then after all these years, got saved and what have you. And then one day walked into Microsoft Corporation, and I met Bill Gates.
Oh, wow, awesome.
I was recognized by the company for being, they called it the Excellence Award. I was nominated 8 times, and I won it 2-3 times. And it was an amazing thing, for me to be a poverty, somebody told I was going to be a bum, and to be a poverty type person, to go into working like that. I've never gotten over that. That's an amazing thing for me. And it's only because of God. It's not like, everybody says, oh, you worked at Microsoft, you must be a brainiac. No, I just know how to read.
I know how to read. Are you one of those guys that reads instructions?
Yeah. I actually have
instructions. I know because I got one in the other room that does not do that.
Yeah, I actually had. I actually took when I started. I started with Compaq Computer Corporation. They later became HP.
Yeah.
But I started when people were really calling in and asking, "Where is the any button?" and everything was new. The computers cost $2,000 plus.
Yeah.
I started when the internet started, and I was one of the original 12 people that supported the entire compact product line.
Wow.
And
Uh-oh. Did we
some,
lose him? Oh, there we go.
anyway, Microsoft has a book that it celebrates some milestone. I told my kids, I said, you see right there where it says, where it starts the word soft or something? I said, my name's in that, because I was one of the ones that I started way back when they unleashed Windows to the world. So,
Did you see, Scooter, I'm sorry, did you see Danny Mae's?
Yeah. Yep.
Go ahead and read it.
So Danny Mae has a question for you, Rev. She said a better question is, do you ask for directions?
well, I don't drive anymore because I'm legally blind. I can't see that well.
Oh my gosh.
My wife drives. I'm the one that's arguing with the GPS. The GPS will be saying, "All right on whatever." It's like, all right, and then it says, "Yeah, right on." It's like, man, all right already.
All right, already.
But
Wow.
I listen.
Well, it sounds like I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but my dad used to say that you can make what was it? Chicken? No, something out of chicken shit. I don't know. Anyway, but you've made something out of nothing. What you've given up throughout your life with your relationship to your parents is you've overcome those struggles and those losses, and that's really what it's all about. And I am so blessed to meet you tonight on YouTube. I'm so blessed to have you all in my life.
I appreciate Little Red. I know how tough it's been for her. I know that I have prayed for you and texted you and shared stuff with you about different things like that. And
yeah,
when my mother-in-law passed away, you texted me and told me the same thing. You were praying for me, and we drove back, and then my wife had to drive back to Michigan because her great aunt passed away. And it was one of those things, my mother-in-law passed away, and my wife was talking to her great aunt, and her great aunt says, well, she probably went ahead to make room for me. And and of course a week later she passed away. And so that was she, we always talk to her, and I would always tell her, I said, man, I always drink coffee at 2 p.m. Central Time. And she says, oh, that's the same time I'm drinking it, but it's 3 over there or something. I said, all right. So we were drinking buddies.
Coffee drinking buddies.
Coffee drinking. But anyway,
that's great.
I appreciate you too, and I'm glad that you're doing this. Success means nothing unless you can help other people. And for me, that's people always ask me. They say, "Why do you bid more than what?"
I know you're always doing that.
Why do I make up my own prices? Because I know how much you work to do it. You have to source it. You have to find it. You have to clean it. You have to test it. You have to haul it home, and then you got to present it, package it, and deliver it. And, that means more to me than just, you want this, and that's why I bid more. It's not because of anything else. There was many times when I was a little kid and I was at the corner store and I only had, a dime. And I'd see some man who, was definitely wealthier than I was. And I always hoped that there was somebody who would buy me a little something. Well, you never did.
No,
nobody ever did, actually. But I'd have
I always do.
Back then, they always had penny candy. my kids were all like, "You bought penny candy, Dad? What was that?" I said, those little 6-slit things, and
Yes.
those
Oh,
things of sugar that look like a straw.
Yes.
I said, and then we had the weird Mexican candy, and even as a little Mexican, I didn't like those. They were nasty. I didn't know what was in them, and I didn't.
didn't want them.
I tried them because they were cheap, but it's like, no. So anyway, I just want to tell you, I'm here for you. I'm praying for you, and I know that to be absent from the body is to be present with God. And
That's right.
the only thing that has expired is their body, their spirit
That's
lives
right.
on. And even though I know I had my doubts with my grandmother, on my mother's side, the mean one. Mama, I would always tell my mom, I say, if you see grandma, don't go where she is.
Don't go overseas.
And she would say, that's horrible. I said, well, but the thing I've learned, I had a number of friends who died and came back, which was a really interesting story.
Oh yeah, my grandfather did. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that I've known and heard of people who died, and right when they died, even as they're dying, even at that very last second or whatever it is, they ask, Jesus, please, and boom, that's it. That's all they needed.
Yeah.
Yep. And
doesn't matter when it happens.
no, I know when my life changed. It wasn't like I suddenly became a priest and
Right, you don't have to.
all of a sudden I was good and okay, he's good enough. It wasn't nothing like that. I asked myself why all the time. I didn't do anything to deserve any of what I've received, none of it. And
No, none of us do.
yeah, and it's just I find it amazing. It's like, well, God, why you pick me?
Yeah.
But
the thing that when you said why did he pick me is not funny, but a little weird because he picked all of us.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, it's been so nice to have you on. I know we're on an hour and a half into this.
Yeah, right.
Into this chat. I think people are
People
dropping like flies on the East Coast.
Oh no. All right, well, take me off because I'm boring everybody.
Oh no, that wasn't what I was saying. I was just looking at the chat, and they're on the East Coast, and they're a couple hours ahead of us. So
yeah,
a couple hours ahead of you, only one for me.
right. Well, yeah. I'm in Colorado. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh yeah, from the other day.
Yeah, my husband's watching the Colorado Avalanche tonight, so
Oh.
I told him to turn the TV down because I could hear it. He had it blaring. I could hear it through the office door.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an interesting time. After all that stuff, I had friends die. I had a lot of friends who were in gangs and stuff, and they died. The guy that witnessed to me, he got shot in a drive-by, and
Was that was obviously after he.
Yeah, he had got saved, and he came up to me and was sharing with me the gospel and stuff, and all he said was that there was not a bird that doesn't fall to the ground that God does not know about. And if he knows about the birds that fall to the ground, he knows about you, and he knows what you need. And at the time growing up, I was so angry, I was just always in a fury, and I was always killing stuff. I had my BB gun, and everything I could kill, I'd kill it. And one time I had shot a bunch of those little bitty brown birds, and I shot this one. It was like a sparrow, not the brown bird, but a little bigger one. And I shot it, and then it's like, well, what the heck's wrong with me? And then he finally let go, and he was in a tree probably 40 feet high, and he fell. And as he fell, I thought, well, he's gonna fall, but he fell, and right before he hit the ground, he opened his wings, spinned in a spiral, and he landed a foot away from my feet. with his wings open.
Oh my God.
And then when I turned him over, I saw what I had done to him. And I remembered, when that guy shared that scripture, I remembered what I had done when I was younger. And it just really pierced my heart that I was killing stuff just for no reason. And that was the last time I killed anything like that. And I just couldn't do it. I was just so many different things I had done and stuff. And I would tell my kids say, "Don't tell me, Dad, that sounds like a psycho." I said, okay. But were it not for God, I don't know what I would have been,
You're right.
because I was always mad.
That's
And,
true. Yeah.
And always fighting, always mad. And now, all I wanted was happiness, but I couldn't find happiness until I found peace.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then once I found peace, then I found happiness. So, but it's very different. I wish I could tell you, back then the only way I could explain it to my druggie friends and my gang banger and rednecks and my brothers was, I would tell them, I said it felt like a rush.
Yeah.
And a rush was a drug term that when that hit of whatever you took hit you right in the vein or right in the place wherever, it would hit you so hard that you'd almost lose consciousness and just bask in that whatever. And when there was that day, I was smoking weed in the cemetery of all places.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
And there was a bunch of us in the cemetery, and we'd get behind somebody's whatever tombstone, and we'd be throwing down. And anyway, they raided it, and long story short, my mama, she said, "Why are you home so early?" And it's like, yeah, we're gonna talk to the principal. And so he told her all the scoop, and then she took me to church, which I didn't want to go to church, but she took me to church. She made me kneel down right there. She was Catholic, grew up Catholic, and she made me kneel down, and she says, "I don't know what to do with you no more." She says, I try and try, and I don't know what to do with you. And she started crying. And she says, "From this day forward, I give you to God because I don't know what to do." And
Yeah.
3 days later, I was in my bedroom. And I don't know why, but I felt bad for some reason. And I felt so bad. And I just, by that time, I was not crying, or I was just a mess of bitterness. And I started praying, and I just, which I didn't pray either. And I said, "God, I don't even know what to say, And then I started to tear up, and I cried, and I said, "God, if you're there, I really need your help." And I kid you not, I felt like a whirlwind kicked into my room, and we didn't have no AC or nothing. It was hot, and a whirlwind kicked into my room, and it felt like it hit me on the top of my head and went through my whole body, through the bottom of my feet, and it felt like I got lifted, and it was just such an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
And then when I got up that morning, I just knew. Nobody had to tell me. I knew that I had got saved. And Catholics don't talk about salvation, And then when I went to, I'm not talking bad about Catholics, but they just don't.
Yeah.
Or now they do. Now there's some of them that do. But anyway, I went to high school that next day, and people were looking at me, and they said, "What happened to you?" I was like, "What?" And they said, "You're glowing."
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah,
"Really?"
it's pretty amazing how that happens, and it just changes everything. Everything.
And they could see it, and I had so many different people throughout the day kept telling me that, what is it with you? Why are you glowing like that?
Yeah.
And, I had, people who were adults, alcoholics and what have you. And they were all telling me the same thing. And I looked in the mirrors like, I'm not glowing. You can't, you can't be a light to yourself,
But you're like, you obviously were a light to everybody that
yeah.
recognized it, for sure.
And and it was a trip again, because I didn't do anything to that warranted me to get any of that, not even half or any of it. Nothing.
Right.
I've seen so much success in my life, and it's not because, you get saved, all of a sudden success follows you. It's just God's anointing, God's favor on my life.
Yes.
And nothing else. It's not like I'm, whatever. And I see it on my children, and but I just wanted to encourage you, little Red. We're here for you. God's there for you. He's closer to you than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're not only your father but your mother, who are interceding for your behalf. That you would be, you started the Monday thing to help other people get, achieve more success.
Yeah.
And that's a real unselfish thing to do. And I tell you, I was just so proud of you when you did that.
Yeah.
From a father's perspective, I was like,
get those tissues, Scooter.
Yeah. So anyway, all right.
It was really an honor and a blessing to have you. Good to see you. Yeah.
So eventually I'll post on my Rev Artist channel.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was gonna do it yesterday. I was like, oh God. I started a lot of the stuff that you use now, and you don't think about it. Back then it was AOL, it was bulletin board systems.
Oh yeah.
BBS, and you had to connect with a stupid modem that made that dumb noise.
Yes.
And if you had call waiting, you'd get disconnected. It's like,
yeah, right.
So now I have fiber optic and all that. It's like, So we were the first family in my neighborhood that got it. Verizon used my home as a test home, a learning. They had like 6 Verizon vans in front of my house, and they were all showing them how to set up the fiber optic in my home. So they would then have to go out and do it. I was giving out water and coffee, and I told them all I wanted was the documentation so I could read it up, and they didn't give me nothing. It's like, what? But it was cool. It's been fun.
That's awesome. We're gonna move along. Rev, you're welcome to hang out with us while we continue talking. Don't have much more to cover, but again, I do have that video coming up.
Oh yeah.
Grief does play and will play a major emotional impact. I pretty much experienced most of these: numbness, loneliness, emptiness, anger, and resentment, confusion, deep and ongoing sadness, and loss of interest in things that used to bring me pleasure. And my business definitely suffered the last one. I had no interest in my business, and I could care less. I could care less on a lot of things, at least for that first month. I want to encourage someone out there that is thinking of quitting and giving up like I was. You're folding and caving in. You're in the storm and you're down on your knees. That if that is you, you do have a choice to either give up or keep going. Give up or get up. Don't give up. Stay in it. Stay focused. And when you fail, try again, and then try again. One step at a time. I'm still going through this. It's hard, but it's worth fighting, worth believing, worth mustering yourself up, standing up inside of yourself, It's worth fighting relentlessly, never giving up. To grow, we must have sound, but we also must have sound. What in the world did I come from? Oh my gosh. To grow up, we must have sun, but we also must have rain too. And we've got to stop looking at the rain as something bad. My greatest moments didn't come from my greatest moments. My greatest moments have all come from my greatest defeats. And because it was during my greatest defeats that I had to find a way to get back up again. I will not give up. I will not surrender. I will not quit. Don't stop running towards your dreams in your reselling business or any other dreams of yours. Stay encouraged. Keep your head up. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right?
For
it's not
sure.
going to be easy, and I can tell you it's not been easy for me, but we have what it takes.
Yeah, for sure.
There are times when everything and anything won't go right. Anything that can happen will happen. Let's see. As I've had to learn, life happens, the unexpected, the uncalled for, the unintentionals. We've been damaged emotionally and even spiritually. And that could also be your business as well. But it may be your heart that is broken today. The marks that these make can also be marks of victory and can be a mark of defeat. It is staying with the breaking that provides the greatest blessing. It is not what you go through that determines where you end up, it's who you listen to. I've been walking through this valley for 3 months, and there has been 2 voices the whole time. One of wisdom, one is worry. One is gratitude, and one is grumbling. One is blame, and one is faith. And because every time you break in every way that you break, well, it's a chance for you to give up and for you to fall apart, but there's also an opportunity to get stronger, get tougher, and get better. Every human can get through what they're going through because we are humans. We are strong enough. Every human has what it takes to get past what you're going through if they decide to push through it. Tragedy and trials comes to everybody, and only the strong will survive. The fight isn't over. The fight is just beginning. You have the opportunity to show what you are made of and never let circumstance define you. Be encouraged today that no matter what you walk through, no matter how many times you failed at anything in life, there is within you a spirit that is greater than whatever is going on around you. As I and you crawl up and out of this dismal, wretched place, as you and I rise above what we were, and as we take form of what we are supposed to be, we will see that in that very act of standing up, in the very act of fighting, we will become and will remain unbroken. So as I promised, here's the video that I made of my dad when he passed away. I'm going to play that and then we'll come back.
Okay. Do I have time for a quick potty break?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
If you wander too far into the great unknown, you know I will find you. I'll carry you home. I'll carry you home. I'll carry you home. So rest your heart easy. I'll carry you home. I'll carry you home. I'll carry you home. I'll carry you home. Honey, rest your heart easy. I'll carry you home. Rest your heart easy. I'll carry you home.
So that was the video I made of my dad, just to show what kind of man he was and everything growing up. A lot of the pictures in that was my children and, of course, my nephews and my brother and sister-in-law and my grandkids as well. So he was an awesome man. He was a great man. He loved to race. For those of you that saw his race car in those pictures.
Yeah, drag racing.
Yes, drag race, the 56. My brother had brought that up to the funeral, or actually we had more of a celebrating his life than the actual memorial type thing.
Yeah.
He brought the race car up to the memorial, and oh my gosh, I just started bawling my eyes out because that was his passion, you know. And Harley, yes, she said, I'm so thankful that he at least got to meet Elle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he got to know Elle more than my mom did, because my mom, you know, with her Alzheimer's and everything. And I think sometimes we feel cheated, you know, in that, but we've learned to power through that and everything. I hope you enjoyed that. Cool Ranch, any other thoughts on this topic or anything at all?
No, I just think that, in the end, not the end for us that are still here on Earth, but overall, the intensity of the grief will subside. It will get better. And some people say, well, it'll get better with time. It's not that it gets better. Your life just continues to happen. And you still love and miss that person, but it does get easier, Scooter. It does. It takes a while.
Yeah, that's
I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. That's just not who I am.
Right.
It's depends on your situation. But again, like one of the things I said earlier is I think that you need to plan special days or plan ahead, plan a road trip, plan, even so much as a dinner out. Just don't sit. Don't just sit. You got to keep on going.
Yeah,
So.
I'll sleep if I sit. So
Yeah, right. I know, I do too.
And Robert is excellent at that. He's taken me out of town. In fact, the day that my dad caught himself on fire, we were up in Van Buren and Alma and Fort Smith, and that's where Monster Zero is from. He's from that area.
Oh, wow.
But we found out about that, and that kind of put a damper on things because then my focus was on my dad and everything.
Yeah.
But Robert's really good about trying to get me away from the situation if it's just for a little bit, for a road trip, whatever. So, like Saturday, we went to estate sales and went out to eat for lunch and everything, just so I wouldn't be depressed all weekend. So,
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you for having me on again tonight, Scooter, and thank everybody in the chat. I just love this. I love this family.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
We'll open up for any Q&A or any thoughts or comments. If you want to share that now, if there's anything you need to share, we've all been kind of sharing throughout the night, so there might not be anything. So I'll kind of look out for chat. Thank you for joining me, Cool Ranch, on this very hard topic for me. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. I having been there, I mean, I didn't even go through all the, I could have just kept listing all of the awful things, the things that I've been through and the losses that I've had to endure. But it's really made me who I am again, and it will define you. The loss of both of your parents, I can't even fathom.
Mm-hmm.
But I will be here for you.
Well, I really appreciate it.
And for anybody in the chat, send me an email. I'm here.
Oh yeah, she responds too.
I do right away.
I love you too, baby girl. Anything else, guys? This week I'll be on at 8 p.m. Central tomorrow night for trinket boxes, so make sure you tune in for that. Jewelry will be Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central as well. Thursday, I believe Cool Ranch might be joining me for anything.
I just got to check with that's my mom's birthday, but
Right,
we never celebrate her birthday on her birthday. You know what I mean? So it's potential that we celebrate on Friday or Wednesday instead of Thursday. But yeah, if we could do an anything and everything kind of auction, if you'd like.
All right.
Would that work?
Just keep me updated
Yes, I will.
If Cool Ranch can join me, we'll probably start at 7 p.m. Central because I promised her we would start earlier.
Okay.
Once we got going, because I know she's an hour behind me, but I know she's like me. She's got time that she's ready for bed and everything. So
no.
Otherwise, I'll be on at 8 p.m. that night Central. Next Monday will be Monday Motivation will be on being a trusted reseller. Make sure you tune in for that. That will be at 8 p.m. Central as well. Make sure you click on for the reminder notification if you want to see that. Hey, Demetrius. Hello, I missed your show. Don't leave. You can definitely go back to watch the replay. And again, my replay crew, I love you. Thank you for watching every time.
Yeah.
So
definitely don't forget the thumbs up.
Yes.
And if you give us a thumbs down, I'm going to track you down.
She's going to find out who it is.
That's right. I will know.
All right, guys. Again, make sure you do all the YouTube things. So ring the bell, thumbs up, and leave a comment. And guys, I know I normally make this show 45 minutes to an hour. But
sorry,
way over the time.
My husband always does this when I'm talking too much. He wasn't in the room, so you all got to hear it.
Right? Mine's always like, land the plane. Land the plane.
Land the plane. All right.
Thank you, chat, for being here. And thank you again, Cool Ranch, for joining me tonight.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Rev, for telling us your story.
Yes.
I loved your testimony. Thank you.
Very much so.
That was a blessing. All right. Are we ready?
Hold on.
No.
people are popping in now. It's like, where were you earlier? John Moore, how are you, buddy? So we were just talking about losses in general, but today was my dad's birthday, and he passed away March 4th. So we were kind of talking about loss with business and, personally and everything. So make sure you go back and watch the replay. You can catch the video that I made and everything. But guys, remember that the dream is for free, but the hustle is so separately. Y'all have an awesome night. I will see you all tomorrow night.
Good night, everybody.
Where's my... Hold on, guys. There we go.
Okay, let's do this thing.